BLUF Gaming here with a quick beginner tutorial for Satisfactory. As soon as you land and dismantle your pod, equip your zapper and take out any nearby hogs. Their main attack is a charge, so you can use nearby obstacles to your advantage to kill them safely. Save the carapaces they drop, as you'll need at least 11 for research in the early game. Next up, choose a large open area, preferably near iron, stone, and copper deposits to build your factory. When choosing an area, bigger is better. Seriously, this cannot be stressed enough. You want as much space as possible. When you get to a deposit, mine away the rocks jutting up from the ground first. This will save you time later. Check the purity of your deposits as well. Pure is better than normal, and normal is better than impure. Early on, you're going to have very limited electricity, so don't build too many buildings. Portable miners though don't use power, so you're safe there. To get all the production you want to finish the Tier 0 milestones, however, you'll either need to construct a lot of materials by hand, or cycle function or power from one job to another so you don't overload your grid. Once your hub has 2 generators, you can combine those grids for 40 megawatts of power, but that's still not enough to automate all the stuff you want. So power management or manual construction will be necessary. I recommend getting through the Tier 0 milestones as fast as possible before considering your factory design too much. You can redesign later without material loss, and it's not until you finish Tier 0 that you can begin to power and compartmentalize all the functions you want. Once you open up Tiers 1 and 2, the game really opens up and gives you a lot more freedom and time to design your factory how you like. That's your bottom line up front. If you want to see more detail, just stick around. Thanks for sticking around. Since this is my first tutorial on Satisfactory, I expect this will be the first time many of you have visited my channel. For years, I would come to YouTube to look for a video on a subject, and once I found one, would have to sift through 20 to 30 minutes of a let's play or a tutorial just to find the small bit of information that I was looking for. I found that frustrating, so I decided to make a channel that helped ease that problem. BLUF stands for bottom line up front. That means I get the core information of a video and place it right up front before any intro, crazy graphics, or long speeches. That way, you can get the information you need and get back to the game as fast as possible. For those of you that want more information, however, you can stick around to the second section of the video where we are now and get a lot more detail. So let me shut up about my channel and get back to the game. Ada does a great job through the milestone system teaching you the basics of the game. So I'll be focusing more on general and design-based advice, throwing in useful tips that I've either discovered in my own play or learned from Factorio, another factory game from which Satisfactory has clearly taken inspiration. First things first, dismantle your landing pod and equip your Xeno Zapper.
Second objective, please ensure you have your Fixit incorporated Xeno Zapper equipped before leaving the drop zones. Note: according to Fixit regulations, every pioneer should have access to a means of defense against extraterrestrial threats.
Then, if there are some fluffy-tailed hogs nearby, go ahead and take those out. They will each drop a carapace. Save those, they aren't very important right now, but you will want to collect at least 11 of them as you play in the early game. These guys are very common near resource deposits, so always be ready when you're approaching a new one. You should be able to take out 2 or 3 of them easily enough, especially if you use obstacles to block their charges. If you need to heal after, just find some fruit or nuts to eat. Next up, the game will tell you to press C to find resources so that you can set up a base, and also suggest that being near iron is critical to efficiency. That's only part of the picture though. Being near iron is definitely nice, and it will speed you up in the early game. However, there's another aspect of getting established that is a bit ignored, and that's space. If you're a Factorio veteran, you already know that however much space you think you need for your base, it isn't enough. Having a wide open area free from too many cliffs or overhang is critically important for efficiency. It's easy to run long power lines and conveyor belts in this game, so if you have to settle a bit away from your iron deposits in order to get more space, it's likely worth it. To begin, you'll have to manually mine the resource nodes you find. You'll see that you can mine either the ground or these rocks sticking up from the ground. Mine the rocks first. In fact, you might as well go ahead and mine them until they break. Your first automated miner is small and won't be bothered by these rocks, but as soon as you upgrade to the MK1 miners, those rocks will be in the way, so getting them out of the way now is a good idea. Another thing to note about the resource deposits is the purity. You can see that the rocks jutting up are pure and the ground below is normal. You may also find deposits that are impure. Starting on a normal deposit is definitely the way to go. You'll have the MK1 miners soon, and they get ore from a normal deposit twice as fast as an impure deposit. This can be very helpful in the earlier game when your ability to supply electricity is both limited and labor intensive. Don't worry too much about where you place your hub. You can move it later if you need to. Dismantling structures in Satisfactory doesn't cost you any materials, so you're free to redesign your layouts without waste. To start out, you'll want to build at least 3 portable miners, one each for iron, stone, and copper. If you're using impure iron deposits, you may want to build a 4th one as well. 16 copper ore is enough to do this, but I usually end up with more after destroying the rock off the top of a deposit. Old school Factorio players may feel the urge to build more miners early, but until you finish all tier 1 milestones, you're going to be limited by the amount of power you can provide, so more miners are just going to create a smelting choke point. Once you start your Hub Upgrade 3 milestone, you're going to really start to feel the need to automate. Getting smelters up for both iron and copper is a must. Unfortunately, you won't have conveyor belt splitters for a little while. Also, setting up constructors for copper wire and either iron plates or iron rods is necessary. You're limited to 20 megawatts of power initially, and soon 40 megawatts of power, so you won't be able to build everything you want quite yet. Because of this, you may need to have only one constructor that you cycle between iron rods and iron plates, or be willing to turn off your copper operations occasionally. You may be thinking that a conveyor splitter could help by letting you have one smelter lead to 2 different constructors. That's definitely possible in the future, but not at this point in the game, so power is precious. As the game progresses, you'll want to separate functions and compartmentalize for efficiency. Right now though, when resources are limited and you still don't have conveyor belts, I think it's okay to place your constructors very near your mining and smelting operations. Otherwise, you'll spend a lot of time running around wasting effort, and there's no harm in redesigning your layout later in the game. When placing your structures, you'll occasionally see a couple of green guidelines appear when you have 2 structures near one another. This is letting you know that the 2 structures are aligned and placing conveyors between them will be straight and easy. These will also appear with your conveyor splitters and mergers, so keep an eye out for them once you have those open as well. Once you can place foundations, aligning structures will be much easier, but for now the green lines are the best we have. At this point in the game, your structures probably aren't producing materials as fast as you'd like to spend them on milestones, and unfortunately, you don't have enough power to run more structures. Feel free to use this time to explore, gather leaves, berries, and the like, or, if you're in a hurry, manually construct the milestone materials you need at the craft bench. Just be careful when you explore. If you travel too far from the initial spawn, you could encounter hostile creatures more dangerous than the fluffy-tailed hogs. Watch for the lights on your buildings to change color. Green obviously means everything is fine. Yellow in this instance means production is halted because it's out of resources. Red means the building isn't functioning, likely because it's out of power. Once you get to the final Tier 0 milestone, you get a second generator. These can be combined on the same grid to increase your maximum capacity to 40 megawatts. This can let you build several more structures. However, you also recently uncovered foundations and you're about to unlock the ability to build standalone biomass generators. Because of this, I'm torn on whether to recommend immediate expansion or just waiting a few extra minutes until you finish this milestone. Getting standalone biomass generators and foundations means you can begin building a legitimate factory. You want to have nearly all of your factory floor covered in foundations, and I highly recommend compartmentalizing functions to make your life easier and sane. One of the most important compartmentalized functions in your factory will be power generation. Since your hub has 2 biomass generators on it, you may or may not choose to have it adjacent to your power sector. And depending on where you set up, you may need to rearrange things. Because of this, I'm fine with not increasing production quite yet and just waiting until all your Tier 0 milestones are complete before expanding. Once you've completed your Tier 0 milestones, you get access to both Tier 1 and Tier 2 milestones at the same time. If efficiency is your goal, I highly recommend your next 3 milestones be Tier 1 logistics, Tier 1 utility, then Tier 2 obstacle clearing. These will help get your factory running cleanly and efficiently most quickly. This is a game primarily about designing a factory, not running around and collecting resources. Tier 1 logistics gives you much needed conveyor splitters and mergers, then Tier 1 utility and Tier 2 obstacle clearing greatly reduce the amount of effort you have to exert to provide electricity to your structures. After all, you want to spend your time designing and exploring, not running around and picking up leaves all day. That's it for this tutorial. I'm doing 2 things with Satisfactory that I haven't done with a game before, one being post an early access review video, and the other being a video of my initial gameplay after first installing the game, completely new to all of it. Please check those out if you're interested, and if not, don't worry, I'll be posting more tutorials as well. I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if you have any tips. This is a new game after all, so I'm sure there are some things that I've missed, and possibly even some things that have changed between when I made this video and March 19th whenever the game was finally released in early access. Of course, you can hit dislike as well, but if you dislike my video, I'll get one of your friends to join your game as Satisfactory and intentionally merge multiple belts with different products so that your entire conveyor lines are a huge mess. Thanks for watching Bottom Line Up Front, and I'll see you next time.